Ethan Caldwell had everything, money, power, and a $10 billion portfolio that could bend the market with a single call. Yet beneath Chicago's lights, he was achingly lonely. Every encounter was curated, every smile calculated for appearances. And tonight he wanted to break free from that golden cage. He walked into the Ember Crown, the crown jewel of his restaurant empire, dressed in thrift store clothes. No Italian suit, no Rolex, just a faded velvet jacket, scuffed shoes, and thick glasses hiding his face. He hadn't come for dinner but to test humanity. When he ordered the $500 Emperor's cut steak, Ethan observed reactions. The beautiful hostess sneered nearby, diners whispered with cautious disdain, but the young waitress who approached his table was different. Her eyes carried exhaustion etched into every cell. No distance, no contempt. Only raw sincerity in the smallest details. Her name was Clara Vance, and tonight, in what he thought was a meaningless charade, Ethan would stumble into something he'd never prepared for, a secret that could shatter his entire empire. Clara Vance, 23, moved with a polite smile. But behind the mask, she was a woman driven to the brink of despair. Her younger brother Lucas was battling a terminal illness. Medical bills towered far beyond her reach. Her job at the Ember Crown, the city's most opulent restaurant, was the only thread keeping their fragile hope alive. But that thread was being steadily cut by Gregory Flint, the restaurant's manager. He had uncovered a minor discrepancy in Clara's paperwork and twisted it into a fabricated debt of $5,000. If she didn't cooperate, he would ruin her future. Since then, Clara had been coerced into covering up massive invoices, another cog in Flint's criminal scheme. Tonight, when she saw the strange guest in shabby clothes seated at the most prestigious table, Clara unexpectedly felt pity. She treated him not as a failure, nor as a mark, but simply as a man. And in the deep, unwavering gaze of that customer, Clara realized this might be her only chance to break free. Ethan Caldwell sat at the table nearest the kitchen unnoticed. But from that vantage point, he saw everything. He saw Gregory Flint schmoozing the elite clients, then coldly dismissing his staff. He saw how the wealthy were treated like kings, while ordinary people were discarded like burdens. This was the world he himself, however, unintentionally had built, dazzling yet hollow. A machine that ran smoothly, generating millions, but devoid of a soul. Then Clara appeared with a breadbasket. Her hands trembled, dark circles shadowed her eyes, her shoes worn thin, yet her gaze carried no contempt. Ethan ordered the cheapest beer to test her. No shift in expression, just a quiet nod. For the first time in months, Ethan glimpsed a spark of authenticity. What he didn't know was that this fleeting moment had already set into motion a dangerous chain of events with no way back. Clara returned to the kitchen, heart pounding. The guest at table 12 had just ordered the Emperor's cut and a vintage 1998 wine, a bill worth thousands more than her rent. If he failed to pay, Flint would make Clara bear the cost. As expected, Flint stormed over, his thick jaw red with fury, voice dripping with venom. "Are you insane? He looks like a vagrant. If he skips, the debt goes on your tab." Clara lowered her eyes, silent. But from across the room, the strange customer Ethan watched. He didn't know the details, but he saw Flint's tension, Clara's fear. And then he nodded. A simple nod, yet it carried immense weight. Clara decided to trust him. Even at risk, she would serve him with dignity. That decision would change everything. Carrying the vintage wine to his table, Clara moved swiftly, hiding her fear with practiced grace. Ethan studied her, his eyes saying, "I see you." "I know." Throughout the meal, he didn't ask about the tip or the luxury menu. He asked about the city, its people, its overlooked corners. Clara was startled. This wasn't a self-absorbed customer. This was someone truly listening. And in that fragile moment, a thought flickered. Maybe she could ask for his help. But not aloud, not under Flint's watchful eyes. She needed a discreet way. In the small staff lounge, Clara grabbed a pristine white napkin. Her hands trembled. Her heart raced. She scribbled a few lines. "They're watching you. The kitchen isn't safe. Check Flint's office records. He's poisoning the supply chain." Each word cut her like a blade. This wasn't just a warning, it was a confession. If Ethan didn't believe her, she would lose everything. When delivering the bill, Clara slipped the napkin under the check folder. But Ethan called out, "Wait!" Her heart froze. Would he expose her right there? Outside the restaurant, Ethan stood beneath a yellow street lamp unfolding the napkin. The words blazed like fire, poisoning the supply chain. Lightning flashed. If true, this wasn't petty greed, it was a death blow to the very brand he had built. Flint could turn the Ember Crown into a tombstone for his reputation. Ethan inhaled sharply, pulling out a burner phone. On the other end, Arthur Pendleton answered. "Your reports are worthless," Ethan snapped. "Flint's betraying us. I need intervention. Tonight." Arthur sighed, but knew his chairman's nature. Once resolved, nothing could stop him. He dialed Ren Carter, a former MI6 operative and infiltration specialist. 45 minutes later, a sedan pulled into a back alley. Behind the wheel sat a woman with ice-cold eyes. "Arthur said you needed a ghost." "I'm Ren, but ghosts don't come cheap." Ethan replied curtly. "I can afford it." Ren tossed him a gray janitor's uniform and a sparkle-clean ID badge. "Tonight you're a cleaner. I'm your shift lead. We don't break in, we walk in." At 1 a.m., the Ember Crown lay in darkness, lit only by a lone guard's light. Ethan and Ren, clad in sparkle-clean uniforms, wheeled mops and carts through the back door. Security scanners flickered, but Arthur had already hacked the roster. While Ethan pretended to mop floors, Ren picked the lock to Flint's office. Within minutes, she found a hidden compartment behind a bookshelf. "Quiet," Ethan whispered. "Try the Little League date from that photo." Click. The safe opened. Inside lay stacks of cash passports and a black leather ledger. Ren photographed every page, copied files from Flint's computer. The evidence was irrefutable. Flint was sourcing meat from a facility shut down for contamination, then reselling it at premium prices to the restaurant. By sunrise, Ethan was no longer the drifter in second-hand clothes. He wore his gray suit once more, flanked by Arthur and 2 FBI agents as he strode into the Ember Crown. Flint froze at the sight of his true employer. But the greater shock was yet to come. Ethan summoned Clara into the office. In front of everyone, Flint shouted, "She's in on it too! She cooked the books for me!" Clara trembled, but Ethan met her eyes. "Speak." Tears glistened as she confessed. "He blackmailed me." The ledger and hidden videos laid bare every crime. Flint was finished. Ethan turned voice firm. "Last night, a young woman risked everything not to save herself, but to do what was right. Clara, your fabricated debt is erased. Beyond that, Caldwell Global will cover all of your brother's medical expenses, and you will take the role of Director of Ethical Oversight, reporting directly to me." Clara broke down in tears. From a waitress in worn shoes, she had become a hero. And Ethan, in his quest to uncover truth, had rediscovered his own humanity.